Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. Welcome to the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3. I want to keep you up to date as to what exactly is going on with the stream at this point in time. So, Strelok and Apollo are both delayed. White Ra is ready to start. The first match will be White Ra versus Strelok. Strelok is delayed by approximately 20 minutes getting to the WCG, which is where he will be based. This is WCG Ukraine today. Apollo's car has broken down about 10 miles away from my house. He is currently waiting for breakdown assistance to come and either fix the car or tow it here. His estimated time of arrival is anywhere between 10 minutes and an hour. What that means is that if he's not here before the match starts, I will solo cast until he is here. And then we'll just sit him straight in. Everything is set up and ready to go on this end. So we're looking at about 20 minutes until we start, folks. 20 minutes. Thanks for your patience, and please continue to enjoy the great music. Just a quick update for folks who have just joined the stream, just to let you know that the SCI-3 has been delayed, and that is as a direct result of Apollo's car breaking down and Strelok also being delayed in getting to the WCG Ukraine. ETA for Strelok is about 10 minutes, give or take, of course, not bearing in mind setup time and any additional delays that may occur. The first matchup will be Strelok versus White Ra. We would move things around if possible, but we do not have the other players available since, of course, they were told that they are going on second and so forth. Apollo's car has broken down, so he should be here quite shortly. It's not really a huge deal. Once Strelok is here, we will set up the match, and I will solo commentate until we get Apollo into the studio. Aside from that, thanks for your patience, and please remember to check out the page over on cynicalbrit.com that is repeatedly linked in the chat. I believe we do actually have a tiny URL for that. If we don't, then I am going to see what I can find over on tinyURL. I'm sure I can make one for us. Pretty sure we do have one. Now, this one page is the place to go for things like the player tip jars, as well as donations and further tournament information. All the brackets and things like that are available over there. Alright. Let's make that. Now, there is actually a tiny URL for that already, which goes to the wrong damn place. Goddamn thieves. This might do the job. Indeed it did. Okay, so the place to go, by the way, for that, if you do want to contribute to the player tip jars and things like that, or donate to the next tournament, is tinyurl.com/SCI3 page. That is SCI3 page, all as one word. It's a nice, easy way to get there. Now, remember that we are running this big contest this time around. It's called Virtual Stadium, and all it really involves is you guys taking pictures of yourselves and your friends watching SHOUTcraft Invitational 3. And the 5 best pictures will receive a 1-hour coaching lesson with Mr. D. Apollo, who is, of course, a professional coach. Those would usually cost you £17.50 an hour. So that will be free to you if you happen to send in a really good picture. And the best picture of the lot will not only receive that, but they will receive a peripheral of their choice. So if you want, say, a DAS keyboard, mechanical keyboard, we'll get you that. If you want a new mouse, we'll get you that. If you want a gaming headset, we can get you that too. So that is the prize. And what we'll be doing is, once we start getting those photos in, we will be displaying them during the break. So you'll get to see who is watching with you in our little virtual stadium. I think it's a pretty cool idea. Aside from that, matches in order today, folks, assuming that there are no change-arounds due to delays or whatever, will be Strelok versus White Ra, followed by the one and only Demaga versus Soke. It will then be Destiny versus TLO, and then to round off the day, it will be Tyler versus DDE. That is the broadcast order. Of course, that is potentially subject to change. You are currently watching the SCI-3. As I said before, we are delayed waiting for Strelok to arrive at the WCG Ukraine so that he can start his match, and then we will get things kicked off. Thanks for your patience once again. Just a quick update for everyone. This is the SCI 3. We are currently delayed due to Strelok not being at the WCG Ukraine event as of yet, which is where he will be playing from. Once he arrives, we will start the match off, which will be White Ra versus Strelok for Game 1. Apollo is currently delayed as well due to a car breakdown, as expected to arrive at any time within the next half an hour. If he is late to the match, I will start solo casting and he will jump in after match 1. Thanks for your patience once again. Please keep an eye on the chat for further updates and I will try and keep you posted as we know more. Okay, folks, just trying to keep you up to date on what's currently going on. Strelok is actually here. He is warming up right now. They are sorting out the maps at this point in time. Apollo has arrived. However, he must get the car fixed today. It has to happen. Basically, as soon as SCI is done, he is driving back home on the Sunday, and he is then getting a plane to Valencia for DreamHack, which I will also be going to, but he's going slightly earlier. So he is most likely going to have to skip out on Strelok versus White Ra in order to go and get a fan belt and sort it out with the car. So most likely I will end up solo casting the first game, and it really depends on how long it takes. If it's a nice easy install, no problem, all sorted out. If it's not, then it could go on for a little while, but that has to be done. There is really no way around that whatsoever. So that's just keeping you up to date on what is currently happening. In the meantime, enjoy some more music, and I will be back very shortly to bring you Strelok versus White Ra. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3. I did say shortly, I wasn't lying. We are currently in the game lobby right now, just waiting for Strelok to get in there. The invite has been given. And I'll be solo casting this first series. I know it's going to disappoint some people, and it certainly wasn't what I was intending to do, but we don't really have a choice. Apollo's car needs to be seen to. Has to be done. Just making sure that everything is sorted out, which it would appear to be. Well, it has been quite the ride up until this point. This is the third SHOUTcraft Invitational, and needless to say, we have some problems already, but those are delay related. So as far as I can tell, everything else is working as intended. It's as good as it possibly could be. There is nothing more that I can do. So there you go. If you are looking to support this tournament or indeed make use of the new feature, the player tip jars, you can do so. Head on over to page that goes by the name of tinyurl.com/SCI3 page. That is tinyurl.com/SCI3 page. That allows you to send a tip in the direction of a player of your choosing, if you so desire, or donate to the tournament. Just to tell you folks that there are, in fact, some prizes to be won for you. Oh, yes. We're having a contest, folks. We're calling it Virtual Stadium. All it requires you to do is submit a picture of you and your friends, or indeed just you, if you happen to be foreveralone.jpg. We're okay with Forever Alone, folks. Nothing wrong with that. You have to submit those images to facebook.com/cynicalbrit, and we're going to be showing those images during breaks. And the best 5 images win a hour's coaching with the one and only Mr. D. Apollo. And the best image will win a peripheral of their choice. So if you want a mechanical keyboard, we'll get you that. If you want a mouse, we'll get you that. If you want a headset, we'll get you that too. All sorts of things. Right. Aside from that, I think we are about ready to get started. Keep an eye on the Team Liquid page if you want to have a look at brackets and all sorts of other information. That's where the live report thread is, over on teamliquid.net. There is the tournament forum. Head on over there, and you'll be able to contribute to that. Chat is on slow mode for 3 minutes, because otherwise it gets incredibly spammy. And remember, folks, if you happen to be talking about this on Twitter, then the hashtag for this tournament is SCI3. That is SCI3. So we are about ready to get started. Just checking that these guys are ready. White Ra confirms ready. Just confirming ready for Strelok, and then we will kick it off. Everything seems to be good by the looks of it. As I say, Apollo is currently fixing his car, so he will join me as soon as he is able to do so. We're just going to make sure that yes, that should be good. Okay, there we go. Right, folks. Do not ask for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. It's as simple as that. You can hear it in the background. We are about to get started with SCI3, the first match of the round of 8. And here we go. The first map for this particular tournament is going to be the Tal'Darim Altar. Great map to start with. No real doubt about that as far as I am concerned. Oh no, oh no, oh no. As always, the scoreboard is the wrong way round. Now it is fixed. And hey, presto. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3. This is the first matchup of this entire tournament, and it's going to be a long one, folks. I can guarantee it. Best of 5 series for every single matchup in the round of 8, all the way through to the finals, which will be best of 7. I'm Totalbiscuit, and I'm currently solo commentating because Apollo is fixing his car. This is required. He must do this now. He has no other choice, so I will solo commentate until he is ready to kick it off. So, folks, without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure to bring to you, representing from the Ukraine, it is the one and the only
TT Esports White Ra.
He is in the yellow trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the southeast of the Tal'Darim Altar versus his opponent, an equal match. There is no question about that. An incredibly strong Terran player, dominating the NASL, an absolutely astonishing player in his own right. I give to you
FXO Strelok.
Ah, yes, and he is in the red trunks, and he is playing Terran to the northwest. Oh, yes. That's cute. People thought that was auto-tune. No. That's called doubler delay, folks. Simple as that. Not everything is auto-tune. All right. Well, let's go and have a look and see what's going on right here. We do have Strelok. He's going to open up nice and standard right here. It's going to be the barracks first on 12 supply, followed by the refinery. Nice classic opening build. No refinery first from him, so perhaps not expecting a little bit of early Hellion harassment against Protoss one way or the other. Speaking of harassment, White Ra finds his opponent almost immediately and is, in fact, tasing him, bro. Not a very pleasant thing to do. Strelok needs to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. Going to go immediately in for a tech lab. Couple of possibilities, potentially. Could be going for this very nice little opening, which involves going for Concussive Shell and then Marauders. Very, very nice against Protoss. Or alternatively, could be going for a Reaper Fast Expand. Not a terrible map to do it on. Admittedly, not an ideal build sometimes against Protoss, simply because of the tendency to get a Stalker out, which locks that down very, very quickly. It is going to be a Marauder opening with the Concussive Shell, as you can see. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good way to nail down any kind of early aggression. Incredibly powerful way to do so. Any kind of scouting probe, for instance, that tries to get in after that will be killed almost immediately. That scouting probe will get out if White Ra decides to do so, but looks like he's going to go around there. He wants to try and check the gas timing. He's not able to do so, and that gas is currently not up right here for Strelok. And any kind of scouting stalker that tries to probe this area right here will be destroyed almost immediately, and there's a possibility for a little bit of... It's almost risk-free aggression with the Marauder and the Concussive Shell. That's the great thing about it. It's such an awesome little combo for early game, simply because it's really hard to catch them. They can get away almost instantly from pretty much anything, and of course they slaughter Stalkers, and that is going to be an expansion. It's going to be a 1 barracks expand, and interestingly enough, immediately moving off of that and going directly into Marines for defensive purposes. And here come the Marauders streaming across the field. We're going to accompany it with an SCV as well by the looks of it, try and perhaps get a little bit of early bunker pressure on White Ra. White Ra will actually... I don't know if he saw that. I don't think he did. It is a possibility, but he's pulling back right here, so I guess maybe he did. And here we go. First engagement as Strelok tries to kite that Zealot, and it wants to bring that Stalker down. Should be able to do that without any problems whatsoever. And now Strelok flanking around and easily dealing with this Zealot. Will he lose the SCV? He will, but he'll easily take the Zealot out. And White Ra actually went with a 1-gate expand right here, which is potentially vulnerable to some kind of Marauder harassment. And that's exactly what's coming his way. He's going to have to get units out double time in order to deal with that. 1 sentry will certainly not be enough. Will Strelok go directly in? Yes, he will. This is a good time for him to do some early damage to White Ra. White Ra with the current supply lead right now. As you can see, he's got more probes, but he doesn't have anything to fight this aggression off with. The thing is, Strelok can't do enough damage to deny the Nexus, so that's really not a huge deal right there for White Ra. He's not too concerned. He's going to follow this up with gateways, and the warp gate research is nearly complete. So his timings are absolutely fantastic. Strelok is well aware of this, and as a direct result, is going to pull back. Command center right here for Strelok, and bunker down in order to defend that. No problems whatsoever. He is not under any real threat and will be able to easily expand economically from here. Slightly behind in terms of SCVs, but he will have mules out any moment now, so that will certainly compensate just a little bit. It's going to be a nice classic 3-gate robo right here from White Ra. Had some good scouting information, give himself all sorts of different tactical options. Now, White Ra as well aware... Well, that's really hard to say, by the way. White Ra, as we are well aware, he is very much the kind of player that loves to go for Warp Prism. So that is something to keep an eye on him for. He is a sneaky little individual. However, Strelok will be ready for that. Strelok has a nice mixture of strategies. He likes to go for tank elevation. He likes to use siege tanks and drops in combination with medevacs and things like that. Now, this is interesting. Is White Ra actually going to take a fast third? Because that is potentially risky for the Protoss. Protoss can be quite vulnerable when spread out over 3 bases like that. And Strelok is keeping an eye on things as well. He's looking to try and spot the timing of that expansion. White Ra will push forward, and will Strelok see that? No, he doesn't see the forces moving out, so he may not be aware exactly of the timing. That is a very fast third, which to me seems incredibly risky against a player like Strelok. And there we go, starport on the way up for him, and drops will no doubt follow this up. There's the reactor to make sure that that is the case, and 2 barracks constantly pumping out, at this point, nothing but Marines. He does have his 2nd gas. He's also taken his 3rd and his 4th. So plenty of medevacs on the way. Also an upgrade heavy strategy. He's just finished +1 weapons right here. And Stim is about to complete. And he's also going to be looking for combat shield any moment now, I would imagine, once Stim is finished. There's the +1 infantry armor as well. So there you go. This is going to be a nasty damaging bioforce in the early game. And this spread out approach that White Ra's gone for this really early grab at the economy could be potentially risky. Twilight Council on the way up, and considering his Zealot count, I would fully expect him to go with Zealot Legs Charge. Also a possibility that he is going for DTs, but right now he's only on 3 gas and he's not mining from this one, so I wouldn't necessarily expect that, especially when he's going to add on some additional gateways right there, 4th, 5th, and there is the 6th as well. So 6 gateway push right here with either Blink Stalker or Charging Zealots. We'll find out one way or the other. If he decides to warp in lots more Stalkers, he may go for Blink Stalker. It's not as expensive an upgrade. We'll find out one way or the other. Tal'Darim Malta is a really good map for it because simply this area right here gives you the opportunity to blink into your opponent's base without being seen. Lots of harassment opportunities up the cliff face as well if you happen to have an observer out. White Ra sitting on really nice map control right now, actually using a Stalker right here to deny any kind of marine hold, and here comes the Warp Prism. Very cool there from White Ra. And are we really surprised by White Ra building a Warp Prism? I would certainly hope not. He's a huge fan of that one. Strelok's going to follow this one up with 5 barracks right now. It's a lot of bio coming out. Potentially extremely dangerous. And right now he has a fairly severe upgrade advantage on his opponent White Ra, who hasn't actually built any upgrades whatsoever. He's going to go with a double forge now to start it. However, Strelok's going to have a nice big timing window whereby he can do a lot of damage with the +1/+1 upgrades. And Zealot Charge is not complete yet. Looks like this attack from Strelok might potentially land before the Zealot Leg Charge upgrade completes, which would be very nice for him. Supported there by a couple of Medivacs. Keeping an eye out to see if we're going to see any drops coming in, and right now we're not. Strelok is just rolling across a very heavy M, and M force, and this is interesting. Look at a Templar Archives coming up right here from White Ra as well, obviously smelling a lot of bio. And there's also the potential for Templar drops right here from White Ra, so keep an eye out for that one. Keep an eye out on where that Warp Prism goes. And there's a little bit of damage coming in, and White Ra, unfortunately, now supply blocked, but he's got 3 pylons coming on the way. That shouldn't be too big a deal, and Strelok's coming in with a flank right now. However, Zealot Leg Charge has now completed, so it's going to come down to a micro battle. Strelok rapidly micros that force over to the side, and in the meantime, Strelok is able to rip through all of those sentries and stalkers, which is very, very nice indeed. However, White Ra with a good surround right there, nails down a large number of bio units. Strelok is driven away, picks up as many forces as he can. Reinforcements coming in from the side in the form of Marauders, and Strelok now going for a big Doom drop right here on the expansion. White Ra does not have enough Stalkers to deny this, and he's actually shooting at the wrong one. There's the drop right into the back mineral line of the Natural, and White Ra needs to deal with this as rapidly as possible. Trying to repress it, and he's able to do so. However, here comes Strelok once again, and he's now transferring to the main, and will be able to pick off that pylon relatively quickly, exploiting the lack of anti-air of White Ra at this point in time. And there's a double drop just to distract him right there, barely anything in it, and a pylon taken, but Strelok has once again been driven away right here by White Ra. So White Ra is holding this together quite nicely. I would love to know what he's going to do with that Warp Prism. Warp Prism has been hanging around there for quite some time, and of course this area very, very vulnerable to some kind of warping. In the meantime, Strelok continuing his trademark aggression. He really likes to pile it on as much as possible. Quick heals on this Bioforce right here. If we have a look at the economic situation, it is currently in favor of White Ra, despite all of the harassment. Lots more Zealots coming in, and a couple of High Templar as well for some feedback action and possibly some Storms. This is going to be a 2-pronged attack from Strelok once again, and he does go for the front. White Ra does not have the upgrade advantage right now, and the medevac support will really help, and in comes this flanking assault right here, the drop on the main. White Ra cleaning this up quite nicely. However, he's forced to warp in more and more and more to drive it away. He's even got an Archon in the mix right now. Very sensible idea. Takes a medevac out in the process. And Strelok delaying that drop just a little bit, which might actually be quite crucial. That'll give White Ra perhaps an opportunity to warp in more units. But Strelok going for some serious economic harassment at the moment as he sacrifices many units in order to push his opponent back. And we can have a look at units lost, and we can see what's going on right here. Lots of workers killed already by Strelok. Good harassment coming in, trying to even up the economy. He looks like he's almost managed it. You can see there's only an 8 worker difference between the two. And Strelok continuing to pile on the pressure on White Ra. In the meantime, this Warp Prism has been idle the entire time simply because White Ra is forced to defend. And now the Templar Archive's taking a lot of fire. It will go down, so no more Archons in the mix for the moment. Here comes a charge right now from White Ra. Throwing Strelok back, the supply difference between the two is absolutely massive. White Ra at 70 supply and falling rapidly. 134 right here for Strelok. And White Ra with a bit of a last stand as Strelok is easily able to carve his way through the remaining forces of White Ra. In the meantime, this big drop has cleaned up a ton of probes in the back. And another drop right here to the Natural as Strelok attacks from 3 positions at once. Quick pick up and go, and this lack of anti-air really hurting White Ra right now as he's warping in only Zealots and loses the Natural Nexus. Strelok playing incredibly well right now as he piles it on. GG, ladies and gentlemen. And the first game in its best of 5 series, it goes to Strelok. There you go, folks. There you go. Extremely well played right there by the one and only Strelok, who comes out of the box, all pistons firing. It looks like we might have a co-caster. Sounds good. Looks like he may have fixed his car. That would be good. Let's try and get him on air, shall we? Now, we haven't had a chance to sound check, so I'm hoping everything will be just fine. We're going to find out very, very shortly. Just waiting now for the next one, and of course it will be a White Ra's pick.
Hello, can I speak? Am I plugged
No, yeah, you're not on yet. Give me a sec. Let me just unmute you here. There we go. There you go. You should be on.
Hello?
Yes. So,
Hello, everybody.
yeah, so
I'm a little bit tired out. I've been playing some real-life WoW. Had a couple of achievements to unlock, so...
your achievement being what? Fix the Hellion, by the
Fix
sounds
the
of
Hellion ASAP. Otherwise, we're not going to have a lift home to go catch an aeroplane to Spain.
Yes, to get an airplane to Spain for DreamHack Valencia. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-commentator, Mr. D. Apollo.
Hello, everybody. I'm just logging in now.
Yeah,
It's still not fixed, though. That's the thing.
Okay.
I've actually... Because I'm a part of Team Dignitas do have infested Terrans around. Therefore, I have gone ahead and asked Purebull to go to Halford's, the local motor shop, to go buy me a fan belt.
Yep.
And he should be able to help me out with that.
There you go. Apollo's currently struggling with the German keyboard on my laptop. You have a mouse. There you go.
All right, I'm good.
It works. It works. We are currently in the first set of this series between White Ra and Strelok. And Strelok came out really gunning for it. Very, very aggressive bio attack right there. And White Ra actually went for the early third, which looks like it cost him.
What was the first map?
The first map was on Tal'Darim, and the second map is going to be Terminus. So it's two biggies, one after another. We're going to be right back after a quick commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, you are currently watching the SCI 3 with myself, Totalbiscuit.
And myself, D. Apollo, finally.
Yes, yes, indeed. We'll be right back, folks, with Game 2.
Alternate attack stockade.
Well, we had to make one mistake, didn't we? Alternate attack socket. That's not actually the right button.
Is playing next.
Yeah. I've had about 2.5 hours sleep, Apollo. How much have you had?
You had 2.5. I had a little bit more than that. I had 7, so it's 5 more than you.
Yes, here, receive this random socket. That will wake you up in the morning.
Indeed. How come you only had 2 hours sleep? What's that?
I tried to get to bed at a reasonable time, but so many things going through my head. I was too excited. What can I say? I was too thrilled to be here.
Indeed, you
It's
were.
just how it is, folks. Just how it is. Reminder, you guys should get involved in the virtual stadium contest we're having right here. You can win lessons with this man.
Yes, you can.
Indeed you can, yeah.
You can.
Five 1-hour coaching lessons up for grabs in the virtual stadium contest as part of the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3. Send in pictures of you and your friends watching SHOUTcraft Invitational 3.
Where do they send them to?
Facebook.com/CynicalBrit.
Ooh.
Yep, so go to Facebook.com/CynicalBrit and submit it right here. We're not going to delay you any further, folks, because you wanted gaming action, and you just missed out on Game 1, which was really exciting.
Really? I mean, I wish I could have seen it. I really do, because I've been looking... You don't know how much I've been looking forward to this game, actually. This is like the highlight game of the entire tournament for me already. The first round, these two amazing players from the same country. I've been playing against each other for like 15 years probably by now.
Yep.
In StarCraft 1 as well, so... Absolutely incredible. And the last time these met, if I remember correctly, was IPL Season 2, where White Ra one-sidedly smacked down Strelok 3-0. So it's really interesting that Strelok won the first game here, fighting back.
Yes, indeed. By the way, big shout out to SC Reddit. Reddit.com. Yes, reddit.com/r/StarCraft. There is a SHOUTcraft survival thread over there.
Really?
I'm not really sure what that involves. I don't know if there's a drinking game. There might be, but of course we wouldn't endorse such things on this show. Definitely not. The guys are ready, folks. You want gaming action, you're going to get it. Here we go. And we've just broken the 11,000 viewer mark. Not bad for the second match, and not bad for the fact that I don't think... Are there any Americans in the chat? I'd be surprised if there were, because it is very, very early in the US right now. Incredibly early.
Sorry, 11,000 people for missing game 1.
Yep. It's not your fault. Don't worry. The Hellion broke down. Yeah. People were suggesting that we actually solicit donations for a buy you a decent car fund. There is a possibility. Here we go, folks. Violence is abound. I bring you White Raw. He's in the yellow trunks. He is playing for Team Thermaltake Esports, and he's playing Protoss to the south of the Terminus Re. That's his choice. And in the really, really long position over the other side of the map from Team Imba FXO, he is currently 1-up in his best of 5 series with still everything to play for. It is, of course, Strelok. He's playing Terran to the north.
And so, I mean, just if you can kind of recap me, I suppose, rather than the viewers, what actually happened in the first game? Like, I mean, how did they open?
Well, we had a 1-gate expand opening right there from
Tal'Daram.
White Raw on Tal'Daram. Nothing wrong with that. We had a 1-Rax Marauder Conch expand.
1-Rax, okay.
Yep. So it was the 2 Marauders, concussive shell. Immediate pressure came in from Strelok behind that. He added a second barracks, and he went looking for the medivacs while he expanded.
So he went 2 barracks factory?
Yes, he went 2 barracks factory. Okay. He went that after his expansion, though. And then he started applying loads and loads of pressure with those 2 Marauders. He was able to take out a Stalker and a Zealot. He lost an SCV in the process, not really a big deal. Started applying pressure to the natural, and then he reinforced with more and more units, and the attack got thrown back, and White Raw decided to take a really early third, which Strelok decided to exploit by throwing everything he had at him. He went for full 5 barracks Marine Marauder medivac push, and he went really early +1, incredibly early.
That's how White Raw managed to beat Strelok last time they played. It was very fast thirds. He was exploiting the fact that Strelok was playing very, very safe, was sitting back behind 2 bunkers, and while that was happening, White Raw was laughing in his Ukrainian shoes and took a 3rd base really fast. So that's obviously an improvement, self-improvement from Strelok here, just based on by how much these both players know each other.
That's good. That's good information to have right here. And right now we've got the barracks first right here from Strelok. That's actually quite an incredibly late. Yeah, that's an incredibly late refinery right there from Strelok.
Yeah, he's going to be grabbing that fast expand. You know, it's Terminus. It's the biggest map in the map pool, I suppose, and it's also cross positions here, which they don't know yet. But still, it's such a big map that you should be opening up a macro style of play, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing that from White Raw really, as he did go for that 13-gate 3 chrono boost, which means he is looking to pump those probes out to pump that economy.
Yep, we'll see what happens to him going forward. And White Raw might end up playing a little bit more cautiously after having his strategy exploited there by Strelok the first time around. And some people were saying before the tournament that Strelok perhaps wasn't on form because we haven't seen him in a little while.
The thing is, like, I think Strelok watches, despite not playing a lot, which I don't think he has done, he still has the knowledge, and I don't think his mechanics are going to slip up just by not playing that much. So I think he's going to be definitely keen for this, especially because it's the Ukrainian WCG at the same time, and I'm sure he wants to win that. I wouldn't even be surprised if he'd been smurfing or something for a while, training out of people's eye.
It's a possibility, folks. It is a possibility. I mean, he destroyed NASL Season 1. I mean, the only 2 people with a record like his were Rhett and Boxer.
Yeah, I mean, he looks so good in NASL 1. And then, I mean, even then, with the Blizzard Invitational as well, he looked very, very strong there as well, especially when he was playing against Naniwa. Managed to take the first game, if I remember correctly, as well, and played very, very strong there. So Strelok is a formidable opponent. But these 2 players, like I said, have known each other for so long. And I don't think this can get any more ABC, simple Terran versus simple Protoss, because they both play so straight up, so macro focused. The only kind of gimmick, the screwdriver throw in there, would be like White Raw throwing in a warp prism or something.
Which he did last game. He did absolutely nothing with it. He was putting under too much pressure. He actually had it parked in the corner of the map, and it never took part in the fight.
Yeah, I mean, he does that a lot. Sometimes he builds it. I don't know if it's like his trademark where he has to build it every single game. Sometimes it doesn't even get used very efficiently, and even causes a lot of, empty money being thrown away, but we'll have to see. Keep a bit of pressure coming out, though. Just a couple of Marauders, couple of Marines. And White Raw's seen it. He knows that it's just one barracks expand because there's not enough units there.
No, he will expect that. There's no real doubt about that. And he's also able to get away from the adorable embrace of the Marauder concussive shell right there. It's certainly not something you want to be close to. Will Strelok actually decide to push in? Doesn't look like he wants to do that for the time being. There's a bit of a risk, of course, of getting caught out there by White Raw's sentry play. And White Raw currently only sitting on a single sentry, but of course Strelok has no idea about that.
And the factory is going down once again, as you said, 2 barracks factory, cutting corners a little bit, because then it's quite dangerous to go 2 barracks into factory, because you simply don't have enough units on the ground, which, again, they're exploiting each other, knowing that White Raw is a defensive player, would like to take a fast third. Go ahead, get early medivacs out, and you can start applying pressure, healing, but oh my god, look at this.
What the hell? Strelok right here with a bizarre decision as far as I'm concerned. Picking up this really fast command center, completely hidden away from White Raw. And I suppose that is exploiting the fact that White Raw surely expects the fast third to be taken down here because Terrans love this area.
Yeah, and that's really playing with each other. That's what happens when you play against each other for 15 years or whatever these guys have. And probably 15 years is probably a little bit too much, but you get the point here. And you see White Raw throwing down a fast third as well. And the location that Strelok's put his command center, it's good, but it also can get picked up on by an observer, I think, because you usually do have an observer towards the back of the third base to spot for drops. I mean, a slight edge up forwards, he's going to pick that up quite easily. But
it is a possibility. It's a little bit risky. Strelok playing close to the edge. He's been cutting corners. He's got this CC in a very odd position. Certainly, it is a little bit risky. No real doubt about that. Strelok actually held his command center back for quite some time, just for a simple case of macro right there. Build up a good little pool of SCVs, which are now immediately transferred down. And here's the Warp Prism once again right here from White Raw. And that's a bit of a problem, because if that Warp Prism decides to take the right route around here, it's going to spot that command center. And that's an orbital as well. That is not a planetary fortress.
Yeah, that could cause a lot of trouble here for Strelok, and that's a lot of money down the drain. Meanwhile, we have the pretty standard Zealot leg charger being upgraded along with that +1 armor. Kind of the generic style that Protoss players love to use now. It's very, very safe. As soon as Zealot charge is done, you can defend against anything. And out goes the Warp Prism, though it looks like it's not going to go across that third base. Maybe he might take a little bit of a turn, but when he's got control of the Zalnog towers, you don't need to turn away, so he's going to go right past it.
Yeah, I think he's going to miss it. Yes, he is. He is going to miss it. There's no real doubt, unless Strelok does something crazy, like fires off a flare or something. It's kind of weird that you can't see the mules dropping down, but I have a feeling that will be a balance problem.
Yeah, he's just going to go to the back. The factory might even pick this up for Strelok. Fortunately for Strelok, he's going to pick this up, I think. He's going to spot it, scout it, and be able to react accordingly. Also, we do have an observer from White Raw, seeing there's no early third base as well, which may start to ask some questions to himself. Why haven't you taken third base yet?
Strelok knows White Raw so well. That scouting factory was in a perfect position. The main problem being that his response is not quite as fast as I would have liked, but he should be able to easily shut this down. I wouldn't be too worried about that. He's going to get out of there quite rapidly. The attempted Warp Prism drop failing right there for White Raw, who is going to be looking forward to patch 1.4, I believe.
Indeed he will. That will bring the dawn of a new Protoss style with the Warp Prisms. Meanwhile, we do have 3 more barracks being added on, and we're going to be pumping out a lot of ground units now. A single Viking has been brought in as well, just to get rid of the Warp Prism, basically.
Yep. Nice and easy. Might as well pick it off if at all possible. Warp Prism's done exactly.
He's going to go past it this time. I think he will.
I don't know. That's really, really close. He may see it.
I think he's going to see it, yeah.
We'll keep an eye on it. Yes, he sees it. Right, there you go. And White Raw would, of course, immediately react to that and is going to drop right into it. And that's, of course, why that was a risky place to put it. And for Strelok knowing White Raw so well, he should have put his orbital command in a very likely Warp Prism route location.
I think it would have been more simple to put it down, in the actual intended third base.
Where's the fun in that?
But obviously that's not what Strelok was thinking here. Meanwhile, we do have the +2 armor on its way as well. More gateways being added on. We're up to a total of 7 now. Down goes the Templar Archives as well, so we will be seeing some high Templar. Maybe Archons, depending on... The fact is, if Strelok pushes early before Storm's even done, then it's easy just to go to Archons, make use of those high Templar. If he's allowed to get Storm up, he might as well just keep them for Storm.
Yep, army supply is currently pretty even, honestly. Worker supply is in favor of White Raw. There's a drop on the way down here. I believe it's going down the right flank, and it's going to see what it can see. This third, of course, potentially vulnerable there. And White Ra's playing most of his units quite close to his chest anyway. Strelok's going to know about those Zealots at the front there. But this is Strelok. This is going to be at least a two-pronged attack.
Yeah, I mean, in comes the drop now. There is a cannon there to help out. And does get a few hits on the medevac, but there are no units around yet. No reaction from White Ra.
Yeah, White Ra is really, really concerned that this is kind of a bit of a fake drop right here to lure him out of position. And he'd be right. He would be right. And a Zealot warp in is what he needs. That's the calm, cool White Ra we like to see. He's not overreacting because he knows that this is on the way. Because this is what Strelok does.
Scared stim there.
Drop in the back as well right here. Strelok with a three-pronged attack. Are we surprised? It's Strelok. There you go. And now he will have to react because he doesn't have the ability to warp in quite quickly enough. And I think he might have overreacted somewhat there. But here's the thing. He knows that Strelok is moving the bulk of his army back, so it's not really a big deal.
And the Warp Prism not really doing anything there. It might even get picked off if he's not careful there with these Marines. One Zealot does go in to sacrifice its life for the use of the Warp Prism as it does escape. And White Ra, to be honest, has the best defense in Europe, if not more, in North America and Korea as well, against Terran drops. It is so good. He is absolutely the best at being able to kind of keep up, I suppose is the best word, keep up with any Terran player, but unfortunately the Warp Prism is going to go down now as the Viking does finally choose it. Two Zealots will escape, but Warp Prism is dead. Oh
well, that's 200 minerals down the drain there, and it didn't really do a huge amount, but applying a little bit of pressure to Strelok just to try and keep him off his feet. And I think what we should also say about White Ra is it's not just down to how good your defense is, it's down to how calm he is under pressure when it comes to being dropped. Lesser players would perhaps overreact, and they'll fall right into the hands of Strelok. Strelok is this big multi-drop player, and it doesn't surprise me that White Ra actually picked this map because it's got three really close together bases. So defending against those multiple drops much easier. In the meantime, White Ra's going to roll out, take some map control right here.
And because of that third base, it's really hurt Strelok's economy. You can look at the unit tab, only 60 SCVs. I say only, there's actually a lot of SCVs, but 71 for White Ra now, taking a fourth base as well. And the Observer just spotting around the right-hand side as well. Two Observers always great to have against Terran. We do have Ghost coming into the mix now as well as the Mobius reactor and +2 attack. And that's the best mechanic in this game by far is Ghost versus High Templar. Absolutely incredible to watch. Yep,
always nice, no doubt about that. Hey, free Observer right there. Strelok has an eagle eye.
And we do have an Archon Beam Morph actually, surprisingly, on the lower ground here on his natural. And for High Templar in there, we are going to be seeing some... I wonder if this is going to be... I've seen it mostly on Liquid Hero stream.
Storm drops.
People, Storm drops, not just Storm drops, but using the Warp Prism to defend against EMPs. And then unloading, and then storming immediately into the fight. It's very similar to the Reaver shuttle in StarCraft 1. But it's now coming into StarCraft 2. Absolutely fantastic. And if it doesn't stay with the army, it is going to be for that Storm drop.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what he's going to do with that. The personal cloaking right now arriving for Strelok, who is also building another command center. And Strelok's going to roll out right now. Will he be spotted? Map control for White Ra is pretty good. He does have this Selnaga tower, so he's going to be aware of the position, and he's going to get a chance to put himself in the correct position to receive this attack and intercept it. I'm intrigued to see what that Warp Prism is going to do. It is following the army for the time being, so this could simply be a drop. There's a big EMP to the side. A couple of missed EMPs there, actually, by Strelok. That wasn't ideal, and the Archon's taking some damage. Mostly Zealot Force right here. White Ra biding his time. There's the Storm right there on the right flank. That was a big one as well, and good damage being done, and on the left too. Strelok being driven back, and oh, that is unpleasant. Look at that. White Ra is going to try and clean this up. Does he have the units? Of course he does, and annihilates that force in the middle.
Yeah, he also has like 10 gateways backing this up as well. Fighting right next to a pylon as well is never going to be good for Strelok here. The reinforcements able to easily clean that up now. And Strelok's left in a world of hurt because there's a fourth base now up and running for White Ra, and compared to the only 3 now of Strelok, and every second that this game goes on, the closer and closer the White Ra will push to that 200 mark. He's almost at +3 armor as well, +2 on the way. This is looking pretty bad for Strelok right now.
Yeah, this is definitely a reversal of fortunes right here from the previous game, whereby we saw White Ra actually very slow with those forges. This time he did not make the same mistake, and the upgrade advantage firmly in his favor. Strelok going for a big drop by the looks of it, but the thing is, that's a lot of forces that he really needs to defend. Does he have the bunkers? He really doesn't, actually. He doesn't have a bunker line or any anything here. So White Ra could very easily smash his way through here, and he could try and flank this force. And Strelok is going to lose a few SCVs in the process as well. Either that was a transfer, one has to imagine it was, so that wasn't exactly ideal. White Ra with a huge force, 44 Zealots, if you can believe that. And here's the massive charge right here at the ramp, but a big storm. Strelok is not moving. He ate the full force of that one, and an EMP goes off. However, there are plenty of Archons. That mineral line completely cleaned up. Here comes the drop right here from Strelok, but honestly, this is really not going to be enough to keep up with the force of White Ra.
No, he had to take a large gamble. He knew he was behind. Ever since he lost that attack on the 4th base, he knew he had to do something to come back. He decided that that something would be this large drop, but White Ra instantly goes in as soon as he realizes there are no units here and cleans up.
GG, ladies and gentlemen, and currently 1 apiece in this best of 5 series as White Ra comes right on back like nothing happened in the first game. Nice and chill.
So, is it for the 3rd map or for every other map? Is it actually loser picks or
it is loser picks? Yep, it is
okay.
Loser picks. Basically, our admin for Queth, and thank you to him, does a coin flip to pick exactly who gets to pick the first map, and then of course the loser picks from there on in. Oh yes, indeed, folks. You are watching the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3, and things are getting fired up right here with White Ra versus Strelok, which is currently 1 apiece in this best of 5 series. They'll be picking the next map, folks, and we'll be right back after this short ad break. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3. Oh yes.
Game number 3.
It's going to be on ESL Metalopolis, folks.
1-1 between these two Ukrainian stars, currently at WCG at the same time. So they might even have to play against each other later as well. This
possibility,
fighting between these two players never ever stops. And I think overall, if I remember my notes, because I don't have them right on me, is that overall they're like 50-50 against each other for the past 10 years or whatever.
There's a lot of that in this tournament, actually. An awful lot of it. People were making comments on Soke versus Demago, and it's like, that's about 50-50 as you can get as well. The former SCI2 champion versus a player that's won 6 tournaments this month, if you can believe it.
I know, incredible month Demago's had. And we'll have to see, will White Ra top this? Will he be able to top those 6 wins from Demago and win this tournament? Because that would be pretty big, and what would even be bigger than that is winning WCG as well. Yes,
it would be. We've actually got 3 contestants in this tournament who are also in WCG Ukraine, which is actually why we're playing their matches first, just to make sure that they can compete in that. White Ra versus Strelok, Game 3, going to be on Metalopolis right now, and we're going to be into that game very, very shortly indeed. You know, it would be. You know, what would be really, really nice if we had consistent positions right here. I'm gonna have to press the swap button right here. There we go. It always. I don't know what it is about Blizzard that they have this problem right there with StarCraft, whereby you can put someone in the same location and yet they'll. I don't know what it is that the bar won't come up right, but that's okay. Easy fix. Easy fix. We're not stressed, folks. We didn't have delays and problems at the start of this tournament like we do it. What is it about esports and delays, man? It just happens.
It's Hellions' fault today.
Evidently. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you White Ra. He is in the yellow trunks, and he is playing Protoss to the west of this particular map, which is, of course, the Metalopolis for Thermaltake Esports versus opponent from Team Imber FX Open. It is the one and only Strelok. He is in the red trunks. He is playing Terran to the south.
And basically the reason why Strelok was so far behind in that mid game was because he invested a lot into that 3rd base. You have to remember that that put him behind so much when that was shut down. If that had stayed alive, he would have soared ahead. and he took a really, really big risk there, which I think wasn't even necessary. I mean, he's won the first game. Maybe he just wants to try and win the second game really, really fast.
Yeah.
But to be honest, he's a more than capable player to be able to go toe-to-toe with White Raw and any other Protoss player. So I think he should have just easily planted that third base down there where it should have been and should have intended to be and just played that normally. And then after that, those early medevac attacks just did not do enough damage. I think they killed like maybe 2 probes and a cannon, and that was it. And White Raw defends, easily pushes out, takes a 4th, and Strelok's left. What do I do now? I mean, you're taking a 4th base. I cannot let this happen. Have to attack. And it failed, unfortunately.
White Raw had a superior force, was ready to move in at that point. So taking anything off the line, not having any bunkers on the line was not a very good idea either, especially with a big Zealot heavy force. Bunkers really, really good against that kind of thing. And perfect map for creating a 3 or 4 bunker wall off. Strelok did not do that. He likes to keep his forces mobile. He's a very aggressive player. And as a result, failed on the defense right there. White Raw with a quick scout at the opening for Strelok right here. Nice and simple. Barracks followed by refinery at the appropriate time there.
And a second marine is being constructed, which is to kind of already telling us that why didn't you throw down a tech lab? Why didn't you throw down the reactor?
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in consideration now. I guess the options are that he doesn't want to play like that. He can easily throw down a factory very, very shortly. Or he can just go ahead and be a lot safer. 2 Marines are going to be a lot safer against any probe that magically comes through, that sometimes can happen, but as we can see, it is going to be for that factory play here at the back of the base. And I don't think White Raw is going to change. He's just going to 1-gate expand. It's the safest thing to do overall. And even if you lose 5 or 6 probes with a double nexus, you should be completely safe to rebuild probes. But we do have a second refinery going down now as well. The tech lab added on to the barracks as well.
Interesting.
What are you planning, Strelok?
That is really, really interesting. It will be, of course, Marauders right here for a little bit of defense, but he doesn't have much gas. He will now that he's mining from both. There you go. He's put his units in there and plenty of gas coming in. That's, of course, going to be concussive shell right here. Strelok is
gonna try and land it to try and just build up a few Hellions.
That's
and then
not going to happen.
Harass.
That's a very cheeky thing.
I know, another cheeky little maneuver here from Strelok, which could potentially cost him the game again. When a player of White Raw's caliber doesn't make mistakes, then you're in a lot of trouble, to be honest. And especially when a player like White Raw decides to go 3-gate robo this early on. So it looks like we are going to be seeing that infamous Warp Prism play once again.
It's been spotted. White Raw actually going with the gateway. That's actually 4 gates.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be going for that Warp Prism play again. He's going to be trying to do a lot of pressure here straight off the bat. And that's going to work in his favor here because we have, just now a starport being added on. It's not looking good.
Yeah, Strelok tried something a little bit gimmicky right here, and he'll be able to do a little bit of harassment. It might force a few pros to pull off the line, but the thing is there anyone cooler or calmer than White Raw? Not really, and Strelok has barely even got a shot off right here. In the meantime, however, he has gone for this 2-pronged attack and brought in a few units. It looks like he might even be able to get a Hellion out of there. It can take one more hit, and Strelok now applying some good pressure to White Raw, who was not perhaps prepared for this approach, and I don't really blame him. This is highly unusual right here from Strelok and working in his favor because, of course, the Zealot's getting roasted there by that Hellion. A big warp in right there of Stalkers to try and deal with this. He should be able to clean this up now, but there is another Hellion on the way, and Strelok will be able to continue to harass that mineral line. Warp Prism is now up, and White Raw taking some damage. Wasn't exactly a huge amount. Strelok managed to kill 4 workers total.
Yeah, the biggest problem for Strelok, though, is that White Raw has the maximum amount of structures per 1 base. He has 4 gateways and 1 robotics, which means he's going to be able to build so many units in defensive posture, in aggressive posture.
Yep.
And right now, we have Strelok with very minimal. I mean, he's thrown a bunker up right next to his command center. He is going for Cloak Banshees, but as soon as that's spotted, Observer, and it's going to be very, very difficult to play.
Yeah, this is really, really tricky indeed. And Strelok pulling everything off his line right there to try and prevent this. He was able to delay that for a few seconds, and he's got a good defensive position right there. And there's the Banshee right there to shut down those Stalkers. However, here they are, and the Zealot's getting torn apart right here. But Stalkers in the base, which is not helping whatsoever. That Banshee is doing a lot of damage, and White Raw needs to focus that Banshee down if possible. But how many workers has he killed?
19
oh
now.
My God.
Warp Prism warping in more units. This is looking really, really difficult right now.
Yes, Strelok is getting battered right here. And there's another warp in. As I said, the 4-gate Warp Prism approach. And there is a Banshee there. I have to say that there is a Banshee.
And there is not an Observer, though, yet. Still has not been made for White Raw. He warps in another Stalker. And this may be the only glimmer of hope that Strelok will have, because he now has 2 Banshees, there is no Observer. This Banshee's going to go in with Cloak. We'll be able to rack up so many kills. At the same time, though, he has to defend against this push. All these Stalkers and Zealots have to defend. But with Cloak Banshees...
Yeah, that's going to be really, really difficult. The thing is that the Banshee DPS is not high enough to bring down White Ra Stalkers before they can absolutely decimate Strelok. The economy of Strelok is going to be shredded right here. There's a quick pickup as well. Look at the micro right here from White Ra. With a quick pickup, picking up the injured Stalkers before they die and losing bare minimum. Tank now out for Strelok and that Banshee on the defense. And in the meantime, all of the probes have now been pulled off. Oh my god.
What a weird game.
There's no workers left for Strelok. Strelok is on mules alone, and there's only 6 probes available for White Ra.
And the Hellions found them as well, and the Banshee's on pursuit as well. He does have 362 minerals banked up, so he will be able to rebuild with Chrono Boost as well. But he only has 4 Stalkers, and he's not even going to try and rebuild. He's warping in 5 or 3 more Zealots. He has 1 Observer and 4 Stalkers now to beat whatever Strelok has left. And Strelok has 2 Cloak Banshees.
Yeah, and he has no means to deal with it. He should have built an Observer by this point, but of course he doesn't have the gas.
Now he has an Observer
he does.
now, so
this
is going to be the only option now. He has to get rid of these Stalkers. If he can get rid of these Stalkers with the tank as well, he can win.
Yep, and the tank chewing through there, but of course nothing to repair that. And there we go, the Observer gets it. The Banshee is not being moved. Down that goes, and White Ra still with a few units left. There is still this Hellion and the Banshee, however. The second Banshee moving in.
Second Banshee should have been brought along with the first Banshee in the tank.
It really should have.
Double Banshees then, he could have dealt with this, but now a single Cloak Banshee with not maximum health versus these Stalkers is not going to work out well.
Yep, Scan going down right there to try and take... Yeah, the thing is, what are you going to shoot it with? Absolutely nothing. And he needs to bring that Stalker down in time. It is
no way.
Oh my god, he takes the Stalker, and there's now nothing that can kill that Banshee.
There is 1 Stalker left, though. In the main base
in
of
the
White
main.
Ra, a single Stalker.
Oh my god.
If he calls down a Mule, which he's going to run out of time. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to do this.
He needs to repair it.
He's going to build an SCV. He can repair the Banshee and he'll win because there's no money right now for White Ra. White Ra needs to kill the Banshee now. And in comes the Stalker and Warp Prism.
Oh, it was dropped quite early, and Strelok sees it. Will he be able to get away? There's the Cloak, but the Observers are down. It goes.
That's
White
game.
Ra. Oh, that is indeed game. What the hell just happened?
What the hell was that? I don't even know what that was. What a crazy little game
Oh my
that
god,
was.
I don't even know what that was. That was ridiculous. Oh, so tense going down to that last Stalker. Funnily enough, you look at all of the decisions that White Ra made there, and that little bit of micro with the Warp Prism, picking up the injured Stalkers and things like that, that's what allowed him to actually win right there, because he had a Stalker left.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have otherwise if he just decided to get aggressive and throw it all in, but oh my god.
What a crazy game.
Coming down to the last unit.
Crazy, crazy game. I can't believe that. 2-1 for White Ra.
Yep. Strelok could have forced the draw there, but I don't think people would have liked him for that. Let's be honest, and Strelok's not really that kind of player. Strelok is going to pick Shattered Temple for the next matchup right here, and we'll get it sorted out. Vaqueth is going to get everything done. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. Of course, all of these ads do support the future tournaments, folks, so thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be right back very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for Game 4 of this particular series?
Indeed, I am. I'll answer for the crowd, the community.
Cool.
I am ready for this. Going to be on MLG Shattered Temple.
Yep.
Not a very large map, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some back to the basics, back to ABC, you know, 1 gate expand, 1 Rex expand. But you never know with these two players. You can never predict how this is going to go down.
No, it's been a pretty crazy matchup. And that game was just absolutely absurd. This weird base trade scenario. And it could have really gone either way up to the point, and it came down to that last unit in the warp prism that was used to pick off that Banshee at the Observer was there. It was in the correct location. Good decision-making there by White-Ra. Strelok could have potentially flown his building off, for instance. He could have flown his CC, but bear in mind that he was still mining. He still had mules coming down. So he wanted to try and get more units on the field. So that was his decision-making there. Don't know if it was the right one, but as you also said about that Banshee, if it had both Banshees in his base on the defense, he could have cleaned that Stalker force up.
Well, there was no Stalkers left at the end of it, and there was an idle Banshee with pretty much full hit points. Having that in there as well would have obviously cleaned that up. Double Banshees and tank and a few Marines definitely would have cleaned that up. I think he threw that game away there. But at the same time, he did not want White-Ra to keep mining, which is why he kept the Banshee there. He just didn't know. Obviously, we have the uber powers of Observer, but at the same time, mistakes there.
Well, yeah, exactly. When you have full information on everything that's going on, it's very easy to sit back in your big comfortable chair and say, hey, this is how it's going, guys. Let's call the action. That is really, really easy. But in this case, these guys don't have that power. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you White-Ra. He is playing for Team Thermaltake Esports. He's in the yellow trunks, playing Protoss. Not playing Zerg. Kind of disappointed by that. Would have been nice to see.
I heard MC played Zerg this morning.
Really?
In the All-Star match, yeah. MC played against I'm Lucera's Terran, if I remember correctly.
What?
I don't know. I read that.
Yeah, that's an interesting little decision right there. That would have been kind of neat to see. Also, like to point out that we've currently raised $580 for the next tournament. In addition,
nice.
Already done so. Thank you for your generosity, folks. And keep an eye on the channel. The link is there, or go over to cynicalbread.com or tinyurl.com/SCI3 page. That's got the player tip jars as well. White-Ra's getting quite a lot of tips for that game. Tell you that for a fact. People are loving it. Strelok as well for an extremely entertaining game. I bring you Strelok. He's from Team Imba FXO, and he's playing Terran to the east in the red trunks, and they are on these close air positions right here.
So it's a PayPal account, right? Or is it the...
Yeah, all donations are done via PayPal, and we've got these individual links for every single player in the tournament. So you've got these tip jars, which, if you so desire, if you want to...
leave a little note as well, saying I tip you good sir for that third game of the series.
Pretty much, yep. You can just throw them a little bit of a tip just to show your gratitude there. And, nice. I'm not going to say that it's deliberately to bypass the $5,000 limitation on the prize pool. I wouldn't say something like that. That would be absolutely terrible. And besides, these aren't prizes. These are, as far as I'm concerned, payment for services rendered.
Oh, Totalbiscuit. What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? I don't know.
Probably get sued.
White-Ra goes for 13 gate, 3 chrono boost, which means he obviously wants to play a little bit more defensive, and we are having a bit of pro press. He might actually lose that. Oh, he's getting repaired, so he's going to be alright.
You've seen what's happening. That's brilliant. He pulls the SCV to repair the SCV on about 2 HP while it's playing fisticuffs right here with White-Ra's probe. I love these guys. I love them. It's brilliant.
And a 4th chrono boost now as well, so that's very, very greedy here from White-Ra. He's going very, very probe heavy straight away. And, I mean, if he was to suddenly throw down 3 gateways, that doesn't make any sense because he's going to have too many probes. So he's most definitely going to go for this expand very, very shortly here, even grabbing a gold mineral from the mineral field. That's how greedy White-Ra is playing right now.
Well, I ain't going to say that he's a gold digger, Apollo.
He is digging gold today, and he's going to take that home and bank that, that's for sure. Meanwhile, we do have Strelok with the 2 barracks this time, reactor first. So we're going to see a very marine heavy, and also a little bit of a mistake here. 4 in the refinery for Strelok.
He just wants that gas so badly that he's going to send in an additional unit. And besides, what happens if it accidentally explodes? I don't know what the warranty's like on these SCVs.
It's not good.
It's probably almost as bad as on your car.
It is. And my car. Maybe I should have a tip jar.
Yeah, exactly. We buy Apollo a better car fund. This is going to be coming up very shortly, no doubt.
I had a tweet earlier saying you're ruining esports because of your car. I'm like, please, come on,
Your
man.
car is ruining esports.
I can't help that. Are you kidding me?
Oh dear. We're not going to endorse or, of course, condemn a particular brand. We're just going to blame Apollo for his terrible maintenance of his vehicle. There we go, folks. Gateway's on the way up right here for White-Ra, who went for the Robo first. Nice little bit of easy scouting information across that chasm right there for him.
What is Strelok doing? Why is he taking 2 gases? This is really interesting because usually this is for a little bit of pressure. You then follow it up by an expand, but taking the second refinery just doesn't make sense. It's flipping it upside down. So we're having a factory coming down here with a lot of gas saved up. This very well may be double medivac straight away, or it could be Cloak Banshee still at this point. A weird timing though, and a really weird build from Strelok here. Meanwhile, once again, we are having the robotics facility on its way. We are going to get the Observer as well. White Ra, no, he's on the final stretch. So the last 100 meters, he's there right now. He's playing very, very safe, getting all these structures out at this current time.
Yeah, and indeed, why not? He's got a game in hand. He can afford to lose a game. He doesn't want to, but he can afford to. So he's just going to play nice and straight up. He's not really concerned. He's of course going for the Robo first and going for this very macro-heavy approach, as you said. He doesn't really need this big defense. He can afford to lose a game, and of course, if he gets into the late game with this kind of economy, he's going to decimate Strelok, who is currently on. This really is very much a one base right here from Strelok at this point. He's got no minerals. He is not expanding, and as you said before, a drop is a possibility. We will see what decides to come from this, but there is actually no stop. But he's gone for a tech collab on the factory.
So basically what he's going to do is basically a variation of 1-1-1. It has the same goal. It starts off the very, very same, and he's going to be going with siege tanks and a lot of infantry here with stim. So he's going to push everything out at White Ra right now. The best way to deal with that is to go ahead, get this immortal out what we're seeing, probably add on 2 more gateways, and just pump units out fluidly. If you have enough stuff and lots of stuff out there, you will be able to overwhelm him. We're also having the starport coming in now as well, so we're going to see Medivacs come into this now, especially. Well, he can go either. He can go for Banshees and he can go for Medivacs. It's really up to how Strelok wants to play this, but the Observer from White Ra sees everything right now.
Yep, it knows what's coming. There's no real doubt about that. Siege Tech is not available as of yet. There's 3 Stalker Force right there. It's picking off a few Marines and is not worried. It knows that it can't be looked out. He's getting incredibly aggressive with that. And good micro there by White Ra, getting out at just the right moment. Strelok is not currently aware of the presence of this Observer, which is a bit of a problem. And notice White Ra actually rotating his Stalkers right here so that the healthier one takes the damage. And that's a Viking coming out right there from Strelok.
Is Strelok really playing White Ra instead of the game? I think that he's actually just reacting to White Ra and is getting that for the Warp Prism.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to get a Viking right now. That should have been a Medivac. He should have been able to push out with 2 Medivacs and everything he has. And it's getting too late for him now, so that's really interesting to go for this Viking, and it really does not make too much sense to me right now. But at the same time, White Ra's economy is blooming. He's at 34 probes, he's at double Nexus. He's going to be able to just pump out incredible amounts of units here. And now we're going to the Medivac, so this is really confusing to play from Strelok. And to be honest, he's not looking in that good shape.
No, he's not. He's been on one base for too long now, and he's now a full 10 workers behind, and this expansion is fully operational right here for White Ra, and he has to do something. You've said it yourself in this position. You either do one of 2 things. Either you double expand, which of course is risky to try and play catch-up, or you do damage. You must do damage. And Strelok is looking to do that right now. He's rolling out. He does have now 26 Marines, now with Marine Shield and Stim. He does have these 2 tanks as well, and this Viking to, I assume, provide vision, because it's not going to do anything else at the moment. And Strelok pushing out, taking some damage on the Marines right there. Going to bring some SCVs into this as well, so this is going to be, by the looks of it, an aggressive contain.
Well, he's going to try and kill. If he doesn't kill, then that's his tournament life right over. And White Ra is going to get caught off with these Stalkers. He's going to go in now with everything. Guardian Shield and Force Fields go down. Yeah,
and there we go. Strelok is laying down the pain right here. And a quick pick up and drop right there just to save that Siege Tank. However, that did melt. And there's the flank coming in. And Strelok just got absolutely crushed.
Wow, I knew that was going to happen. You could see it happening. I mean, the Viking provided nothing to that fight whatsoever.
No, it didn't.
It was way too late. There is a drop into the main base with 6 Marines, but I don't think that's going to be enough. He can very easily warp in a new round here, or even just pull the probes, wait for the round to come in. Meanwhile, a huge counterattack is going to Strelok with bare minimal.
Well, once again, we see Strelok's weakness, that being defense. He just doesn't have any. He's got no tanks available. He's got a few Marines and no bunkers. And right now, he doesn't have what he needs to deal with this force. It looks like White Ra is going to steamroll him here, which would be a tad unpleasant for him. After such a really strong first game, I'm really not sure what actually went wrong for Strelok. And you can see this Marine drop has certainly done some damage, but is it really enough? Not exactly. And great placement of the sentries right there. That Immortal is just standing there, reaping a terrible toll. 12 kills. He's going to be taking a 13 after that, and it finally goes down. Strelok looking to try and push this back. The tank is out in time, but he threw away a lot of workers to make that happen. In fact, he's only got 1 SCV left, so this is looking very bad indeed. Nice little bit of micro right there by White Ra, losing his Stalker. I think he realized he doesn't have to care at this point, and there's nothing left now at all.
Yeah, I mean, Strelok's just calling down mules. The game's over.
GG, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. White Raw advances to the round of 4 and takes that series 3-1 against Strelok, who gets knocked out very early in this tournament. And obviously, one of these guys was going to go out. It was going to be a strong matchup one way or the other, but White Raw really, really well played there. And as you said, I think Strelok did certainly make some very critical judgment mistakes in that last game.
I really don't know what was going through his head there. I mean, he could have been a level above me, which is more than acceptable. It could have been like, all right, well, I got this Viking because of this. But, you know, it didn't really provide anything to that game whatsoever. If he'd gone with a double Medivac, maybe it could have been a little bit better for him, having that extra healing capability. But at the end of the day, just completely smashed down once again from White Raw. And 3-0 in IPL Season 2. Now 3-1 in this tournament. White Raw's definitely getting on the upper hand of these two players.
Yep, and he advances into the round of 4, and he's going to be fighting either Tyler or DDE. That's actually quite a scary prospect when you think about it. Tyler's PvP, pretty scary. And DDE, we've seen him deal with Protoss before. He went 4-3 in the SCI 2 finals against Soke, who, of course, was the eventual champion. So I'd be a little bit concerned one way or the other. It's not a free ride for White Raw. No way.
Not yet. Not yet.
We shall see how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, you're currently watching... Sorry. That's not real words. Let's try real words, shall we? This one happens at 2.5 hours sleep, folks. We're energized by the StarCraft, but we can't quite speak properly. You are watching the SHOUTcraft Invitational number 3 with myself, Totalbiscuit.
And myself, Apollo.
Up next, it should be, if everything is going well, Soke against Demaga, a PvZ for the ages.
Oh my god, I'm actually shaking in nervousness ready for that match. That is incredible.
That is a matchup and a half, isn't it? We've got a good mix right here of incredibly entertaining matches as well as really, really high-level matches, and of course a bit of both. It's good stuff, folks. It's good stuff. I am looking forward to seeing that happen. Strelok is already out thanks to White Raw, who advances to the round of 4, and as a result, he is actually guaranteed $300 one way or the other. And, of course, he will be guaranteed a place in the bronze match if he happens to lose the next one. So, there you go. Still plenty of White Raw action coming up for you White Raw fans. And remember that if you really appreciate the play from either of those players there, you can throw a couple of dollars into the tip jar for them. That's a new setup we've got for SCI 3. Head over to tinyurl.com/SCI3 page, and you can either donate to the tournament or donate to the players directly. And you can also see how many donations have currently been made. White Raw makes it through. We'll be back in a few short minutes' time. We'll be playing some music, possibly showing you some photos from our virtual stadium over on facebook.com/cynicalbrit. Submit your photos of you and your friends watching SCI 3 for a chance to win coaching lessons with Apollo, and of course a peripheral, a keyboard, a headset, or a mouse of your choice right here, courtesy of cynicalbrit.com. We'll be back in a few minutes, folks, with Soke against Demaga.